Hey beauties, the one question that I am constantly being asked about my hair is, what did you put in your hair? Like, I get that question all the time, and every time somebody asks me that, I almost cringe, because it's like, I now understand how hair works, and I understand that just because it works for my hair doesn't mean it's going to work for your hair. Even if your hair looks identical to mine, like the curls look exactly the same, everything looks the same, that product may not work because all of our hair is different. So what I want to do today is go over the different hair types. I'm not talking about just your curl pattern. Oh, I'm a 4A, 4B or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the density, the volume of your hair, whether you have a low or high porosity, because all that plays a part in the types of products that you should be using and the results that you're going to get. So if you want to learn how to get not my curls but your best curls, then keep watching. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. First things first, I Papa freaks all the honeys, bunnies, Playboy bunnies. Those are money. No, not playing. I'm just playing. Just being silly, but no, seriously. First things first. There are 4 things that are going to affect the products that you should be using in your hair and the results that you're going to get. They are curl pattern, texture, density, and porosity. Say it with me. Curl pattern, density, texture, and porosity. We're going to go through all of those today. I'm going to break it down and show you how you can figure out where you fall in the range of those. I have so many notes. You're going to see me looking over here, and when I look over here, I'm looking out my mirror because I got my notes on my mirror, because I took a lot of notes, y'all, and I'm not supposed to sit here and play it like I'm memorizing it, because I'm not. But I did take the time to write it down for you guys, so I got to look at my notes because I want to make sure that I get it right. I took months to research this. This wasn't something I just did like, oh, I got this information, let me push out the video. No, I really took my time. I looked at multiple resources because I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys the best information possible, because I want you to have your best hair possible. So first, let's talk about curl pattern. You can have more than one curl pattern. I actually have 3 curl patterns. So back here is a certain type of curl pattern, that kinky. And then my sides and the middle of my hair is a different type. It's not as kinky. And then this part up here used to be super loose when my hair was blonde. Now the color actually had loosened my curl pattern, but now that it's not blonde anymore, it's not as loose, but it's definitely looser than the bottom of my hair. So I have 3 different curl patterns, and I just have to realize that, maneuver and walk with them. They're all kinky now, thank God, but when you're doing the A to B to C, they are different. Now this used to be wavy. Like up here, I used to have to legit sometimes use perm rods when I was doing a wash and go, because it just was complete. It was like a different world type of hair compared to the rest of my hair. Now what you see now is a wash and go that is 2 weeks old. Normally I do not wear my wash and goes for 2 weeks. I normally wear a wash and go for a week, but I've been super busy and I did not get a chance to do my hair, so I did a restyle. If you want to see how I do my restyle and how I'm able to stretch a wash and go out for 2 weeks, then give me a like and I'll get that video in the rotation. And if you want to see how I do my wash and go, I'll put that link up above and you can see it. Now it is with different products, that wash and go video, but it's the same method. I use the same method every time. So if you want to see it with the products that I use for this wash and go, then you can definitely let me know, and I don't mind filming it for you. And I will get to the products that I use a little later on in this video. So now we're talking about curl pattern. Curl pattern, your curl pattern can be straight, meaning you just got straight hair, wavy, curly, or coily kinky. Most of us natural girls are going to have coily kinky hair. Now we know that there's different versions. You have your 3, your 4. That's usually where we follow, 3 or 4, and you get your A, B, and C. You may follow multiple ones. It may be different ones. Like I said, I have 3 different patterns, textures going on up in here. Now I'm not going to go into all of the different letters. I feel like it's enough videos out there for that. I'm just going to let you know you either have straight hair, wavy hair, curly, or kinky coily hair. The next thing we're going to look at is your texture. Your texture can be fine, middle, or coarse. If you have fine hair, it's super bare. Like you can probably see your scalp in some spots. Like if you brush it in a ponytail, you probably definitely can see your scalp. And if you were to pull one hair out and hold it in between your fingers, you would barely be able to see the strand. That means you have very fine hair. Fine hair only has 2 layers. It does not have a medulla. The medulla is like the bone marrow of your hair. It's what helps to make it strong, which is why fine hair is weaker, because it does not have that medulla. If you have fine hair, you just have a cuticle and you have a cortex. Next is going to be your middle, and that's meaning you're a cross between having fine and coarse hair. It's not enough to be coarse, but it's thicker than fine. You're probably gonna fall in the middle. The coarse section is your hair. If you were to pull one strand of hair and look at it, it's gonna be thicker than thread. That's how you know you have coarse hair. That hair also has 3 parts. You have a medulla, a cuticle, a cortex. So you have that middle part, that medulla, which is so important because it makes your hair strong. So your hair is going to be stronger than someone with fine hair. Your hair also has extra protein. That's what makes it stiff, and it's also more prone to resistance from chemicals. So if you have fine hair, you definitely need protein. Protein is going to strengthen your hair, and you want to make sure that you're being gentle with it. Next, density. So we've covered 2. We've covered your curl pattern, we've covered your texture. Now we're going to look at your density. Density is what people refer to as the thickness or the volume of the hair. You've probably heard somebody say, oh, her hair is so thick. Well, that's not necessarily the correct terminology. For instance, I've been told my whole life that my hair is super thick. I have a lot of hair, I know, but my hair really is not thick in terms of the strands. I would say my strands maybe are more of a medium level versus the coarse hair, because when I pull the strands, it's about the size of thread, but it's not bigger than a thread. But I have a lot of hair. My hairdresser explained it to me. She said if the average person has 100 hairs per square inch, you have 1,000. So I just have a lot more hair. My strands aren't necessarily super duper thick, but I have a lot more of those strands than a lot of people. So that makes my hair very dense. So if you have low density hair, just like with fine hair, you can probably see your scalp, you want to use lightweight products. And those are products that are going to increase the density and the volume. So you don't want to use anything that is going to weigh your hair down if you have low density hair, because you want to lift it up. You want it to be big and poofy and all of that good stuff. If you were doing twist out on low density hair, thin twists are going to be ideal for you. They're going to give you the bomb twist out. If you've ever done a twist out and you're like, I don't know what size to make my twist, and you see the videos, I'm going to help you out with that. So if you have low density hair, you definitely want to use thinner twists. Medium, again, just like with the texture, it's going to be a mixture between low and high. Medium, you're going to want to use like a medium sized twist and then a combination type product. And then finally, if you have high density hair, which is again what I have, y'all see all this stuff. If you have high density hair, you definitely want to use heavier products. And if you were doing a twist out, you want to do larger twists. So for me to do small twists and do a twist out is not going to be good because my hair is so dense. But the chunky twist out, so you want to do medium to large when you're doing it. So we've got 3 of the 4 out of the way. Let's say it back. We have curl pattern, texture, density. Say it again. Curl pattern, texture, density. One more time. Curl pattern, texture, density. Okay, so the last one, and I'm going to spend some time on it, y'all, because it's so important. This was what was game changing to me in my natural hair journey. The last one is your porosity. Porosity. I'm telling you, it's the holy grail of natural hair. What porosity is your ability to absorb and retain moisture. Moisture is so important to your hair. If you have dry hair, you're not giving it enough moisture, and you're probably not even taking in enough moisture. So moisture is not just what you're doing to your hair. This is like a little side note. This wasn't even in my notes, but I was gonna let y'all know, like, the health of your hair isn't just dependent on the products that you use. The health of your hair is also dependent upon what you're putting in your body. So you need to make sure you're drinking enough water, which most people don't. You should be drinking half of your body weight in water. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you should be drinking 50 ounces ounces of water a day. If you weigh 150, you should be drinking 75 ounces of water a day, and keep it moving up. That's how much water you should be drinking. If you drink coffee, if you drink alcohol, they are highly dehydrating. They dehydrate you. So for every 1 cup of coffee or alcohol, you should be chasing it with 2 cups of water to help flush it out of your system. Your urine should be clear or like a very, very light yellow. It should not be a dark yellow color. If it is, you have issues. You are definitely not getting enough water, or something's going on internally. We're taught that urine is yellow, but when you're drinking enough water, it really isn't, and it also does not have a strong odor. What you eat and put into your body as well plays a part. I'm not going to go into all of that today. That'll be another video for another time, but I did just want to give you guys that tidbit because I don't want you doing everything right for your hair and then you're drinking juice and stuff all day and it's kind of fighting against each other. Like you're doing the right stuff on the outside, but the inside is fighting it and you're not seeing the results that you want to see. So low porosity hair, your cuticle is flat and tight. That means that your hair is hard to absorb moisture, but once you absorb it, it will retain it. But it's definitely hard to get it in there. Medium, the cuticle is slightly raised. It's easy to absorb and hold moisture. So if you're in medium porosity, your cuticle is slightly raised. It's easy to absorb and hold moisture. And then high porosity, the cuticle is flat. It's highly raised. It's easy to absorb moisture, but it's hard to retain. So it's easy to get that moisture in, but because the cuticle is so raised, it's hard to keep it in. So how do I know which one I have? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to let you know how you know which one that you have. So what you're going to do is you're going to test a clean strand of hair. It is important that it's clean. You do not want to use hair with a whole bunch of product buildup or anything like that. Like a clean strand of hair, and you're just going to put it into a cup of water and let it sit for a few minutes. After a few minutes, it has sank down to the bottom. You have high porosity hair. If it is in the middle, then you have middle or normal porosity. If it's floating at the top, then you have low porosity hair. Now, if you don't know what porosity your hair is, I suggest that you pause this video right now, do your water test, and then come on back and watch the rest, because I'm going to break down the characteristics of each one of these hair types. But you want to know what type has so you can really pay attention to what works for you. So go ahead and hit pause. I'll be right here. I'm not going nowhere. And then you can come back and finish once you figure it out. Just to take 5 minutes at the most. Go ahead. Go. Okay. Go. So we already said low porosity hair, tight cuticle, hard to get water. But once you get it in, it stays in. For that reason, you are prone to product buildup. The product stays on your hair. You're probably going to have more flaking and things like that. Like I told you, it's hard to get the water in there. Like when I wash my hair, I'm just back there and just sweating and wetting and wetting, and my hair won't get wet. It takes so long. Low porosity hair is also very resistant to chemicals, which means you're less prone to have damage if you are putting color on your hair, like an actual permanent color on your hair. You're less prone to damage because it's going to be resistant to chemicals. It also means you may have to allow for a longer processing time than the average person. Now, if you are not a trained professional, I do not suggest that you color your hair on your own. I definitely suggest that you see a professional for that. But knowing what type of hair you have definitely can help. Now, you need to deep condition low porosity hair all the time. Like every time I wash my hair, and I wash my hair every week, unless I'm just like not doing the right thing or rush or whatever, I will actually sit under my steam hydrator and I hydrate my hair every single week. And when I don't do it, I definitely notice a difference in my hair, and not a good one. I don't always necessarily use a deep conditioner. I'll use my regular conditioner, put a shower cap on it with holes in it, and sit under the hydrator just so that conditioner can really get in there. You also want to clarify your hair more often than someone with high or normal porosity because you're prone to product buildup. So you want to use a clarifying shampoo more often. So stay away from that co-washing. I'm not a fan of co-washing, period. You don't co-wash your body. You're not putting conditioner on your body, sis. You bathe in it real good. So why you think you can just put conditioner on your hair and get it clean? I'm not a fan of it. But But if you have low porosity, I'm definitely not a fan of it because you're going to have a lot of product buildup. So you need to use a clarifying shampoo. I would say, you know, figure out how you're doing your hair, whatever. I maybe clarify my hair maybe once a month. You may need to do it more or less, just depending on the product buildup. Water-based conditioners are going to be ideal for you. And if you're putting oil on your hair, you want to use light oil and butters. So that's the things that you want to use, because again, you get that product buildup. And if you're putting heavy oil on your hair and it's just sitting and sitting and sitting, so you want to use a lighter oil, because once you get it in there, remember, it's going to stay. It's not going to leave. You retain it. It's just getting it in there. And heat is your friend with getting it in there. That's why I use the steam to hydrate my hair with the conditioner. Heat is definitely your friend with getting your moisture into your hair. You want to be careful with proteins, putting proteins on your hair, because your hair and proteins don't mix very well. So if you're going to do proteins, you need to do something with a light protein, and then you don't want to use silicones. Silicones are just going to sit on your hair, so don't use any products with any kind of silicone. Do y'all see how this can help you? It's game changing. Now, for me, when I do my wash and go, I actually smooth the product in by raking and praying hands. Again, you can watch my wash and go, but I'm basically like raking it in. So I make sure that my nails are done, which they're not right now, but I make sure my nails are done before I do my hair. Because if you got jagged nails and you're putting product, you just go tear your hair up. You wouldn't comb your hair with a broken comb. I hope you wouldn't. So don't apply product to your hair with broken nails. So I rake it in, and then I do the praying hands. That works best for mixing the product into my hair based off of my hair type. In terms of how you apply the product and what products that you apply, there's a few methods that work really good. First, you can do your LCO, which is your leave-in, your cream, and your oil. You can also do an LG, which is your leave-in and your gel. What I do with all of this, and this is how I get my wash and goes to last for a week. If I don't do it, it will not last for a week. I do the LCGO. That is my method. LCGO. So I put a leave-in on. And the leave-in that I'm currently using is the Camille Rose Moisture Milk. I use Camille Rose to wash my hair, and I use the Moisture Milk. That is my leave-in. And I also use Camille Rose conditioner. And then I use a cream. This particular wash and go, and I use different products depending on what look I'm going for. This particular wash and go, I use the Cantu Coconut Curly Cream. That was my cream. Then I followed up with the gel, and the gel that I followed up with was Kinky Curly Gel. After I do the gel, I go in with an oil, and I use the I think it's OXG, OXY, one of them. I'll post it. But I use that Moroccan oil, or argan oil. I think it's argan oil in my hair. And that, I use those 4 methods. So I use the LCGO. That may be too much for you. You may need to just use 2 products. You may need to use 3 products. Again, you've got to go back to the other factors. What is your texture? What is the density of your hair? So it's not just about the porosity. The porosity is important, but it's not just porosity. My hair type with a kinky curl pattern, a coarse texture, a medium to coarse texture, I would say, high density and low porosity. This is what works well for me. So now we're gonna look at high porosity hair. So if you have high porosity hair, your hair is going to dry out quicker. It's going to absorb product and water faster. You're going to get more tangles because of the raised cuticle level. So just be careful when you're combing your hair out. For this type of hair, heavier products definitely work better. You also probably would consider pre-pooling your hair with oil before you wash it. The oil will slow down the absorption of the water because your hair absorbs water so fast, it's very easy. You can get too much of a good thing. So if you're just pounding water on it, then it's weighing it down, it's making it heavy, and it's more prone to breakage. That's also a really good tip for when you're going to the beach or swimming. You definitely want to make sure you're putting some oil on there, probably silicones, because they sit on top of your hair to prevent you from absorbing as much moisture since you have that raised cuticle. You want to do a cold water rinse because that helps close off the cuticle or lower it down. And then for doing your wash and goes for this hair type, the LOC, the Loc Method, the tried and true method. You've all seen those Loc methods on YouTube, and then you may have got in there, you may have low porosity and you thinking you gonna do the Loc and it don't work because that's not your hair type. But the Loc method works very good if you have high porosity, which is your leave-in, oil, and cream. Now I'm going to give you some tips. And if you're in a middle or normal level porosity, I'm sorry, I almost forgot about you. I'm sorry, y'all. If you're in the middle, if you have a normal porosity level, then you'll do a mixture between the two. You'll play around with different products and see what works for you. Tips. Your hair can change. It can change. Your curl pattern can change. Your texture can change. Porosity can change. All of that can change over time. You want to always make sure that you are being diligent about your hair type. When my hair was blonde, it was like a platinum blonde, and I went to get it professionally done, but she had to bleach it to get it blonde. My curl pattern was so much looser because the chemical loosened it, relaxed it, all of that good stuff. I liked it because it made my wash and go so easy. But as I grew it out, what I noticed is when my hair came back in, it was way kinkier than it was before I got the blonde. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's in your head just because you were used to this blonde texture. But no, sis. I went back and looked at some pictures like pre-blonde when I had my red hair. It was not this tight. It was not this tight. It definitely changed and got kinkier. The longer it gets, that can change. Your curls are going to be, your hair is heavier, so it's going to hang more. That can change how your hair looks as well. Remember, you can have more than one porosity in your hair. You may be low porosity in the front, you may be high porosity in the back. The same way you can have more than one curl pattern. You just may be that girl, and if you are, you just got to learn how to maneuver and work with your hair. You may be able to get away with using one product on both. You may have to use 2 different products. If your hair is stiff or dry, then it is protein sensitive. Stiff and dry hair is typically protein sensitive. So that means you don't need to use a product with high proteins. I remember a few years ago is this whole big tip. Everybody wanted protein treatments, protein treatments, protein treatments. Well, if you have the type of hair that does well with proteins, that's great. But if not, then proteins are not for you. And the last tip that I want to give you is if your hair is not holding a style, if it is constantly reverting, so whether it's your wash and go and your curls are looking popping on wash day and then they looking like a fro on the next day or 2 days later, or if you're getting it straight and it's swelling back up, I really want you to pay attention to the dryness of your hair. Your hair is probably dry. So what happens is when your hair is dry, it's thirsty. When you're thirsty, what do? You look for water. You look for something to drink when you're thirsty. When your hair is dry, it's looking for liquid. So that means if it's humid outside, any kind of moisture, your hair is drawn to it like a magnet because it's dry. So that's why it's so important that you keep your hair good and moisturized. A lot of times we run from water because we don't want to mess up our style, especially if your hair is straight. Like I know I get that silk press, it's like water. No, I'm like a cat. If you take care of your hair and you keep it moisturized, you'll maintain your style. That's why I hydrate every time I do my hair. I invest in quality products. So just pay attention to that. Now, I am not a professional stylist or cosmetologist by any means. Like I said, I did do research. There's a multiple sources and I gave you things that have worked for me. So err on the side of caution. Talk to a professional if you're worried about your hair. I'm wishing you the best hair ever. I hope that you don't go up and ask people no more what kind of hair products that they use. Because it may not work for you. Now you can ask them, but then you need to Google those products and make sure, does it work based on my hair type? Because if it's not for your hair type, whether your curl looks like theirs or not, that is not going to be a good product for you. I know I said it was the last tip, but I actually have one more that I forgot about. Whenever you're trying new products, try them from a store that will allow you to return slightly used products. Now, slightly used is important. It does not mean that you get the product and you do your hair for 2 weeks and then return it half empty. Please don't be ratchet. Don't be a rat. Don't be a rat. Don't be a rat. Slightly used. meaning you take it home, you try it, you may do a section of your hair, see how it works. It didn't work, you can return it and get your money back. One store that is awesome about that is Target. So whenever I'm trying a new product, I always will go to Target because I know if it doesn't work, I can return it. Again, I do not do this whole head of hair and then try to take the product back. I'm doing a little section in the back, let it dry, see how it looks. If I like it, I keep it. If not, I take it back. Products can be very expensive. So if I'm paying $21 for some gel, it better work, sis. And if it don't work, then I need to know that I can take it back and get my money back. Yes. So those are some tips and tricks. I hope this helped you. If it did, give me that big thumbs up. Yes. And if you know another natural girl out there that is struggling, they in this struggle, go ahead and share this video with them. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for, sis? Go ahead and hit subscribe and click that bell so you can get a notification every time I post a new video. I love you so much. I am Hope Knows, and here's to you having the best hair of your life. Bye.